that. And basically saying, like, you got balls. You're talking to me like you really you got balls. Talking to me like this. You really are, the man of the house, and
I think that he felt that the dad was going to be a pushover.
Yeah.
And he could really do whatever he wanted.
Until that point when he said, enough's enough. This is over. Get out of here. Get out of our lives. And that's it.
And so when I rewatched this, I never thought about where David's character was going with doing that in that scene. But I think because he basically calls him names, and he says that he's fucking up at work, and that his wife.
And he says, like, your daughter. You have this weird relationship with your daughter. He's like, whatever you done to her in the past, and then your work is suffering. And he's like, you're not like, basically you're not satisfying your wife.
Otherwise she wouldn't be all over my stick.
Yeah. And I was like, oh shit. Like that.
Basically, I feel like David's character was egging on the dad so that he would beat the shit out of him.
Yeah.
And then he could run to Nicole and use that as a crutch.
Your dad attacked me.
Yeah. But the dad doesn't buy into it. No. He just kind of attacks him back with words, and he says, listen, man, if you come near my family again, I'm going to rip off your balls and shove them so
far up your ass, they're going to come out of your mouth.
You got that, my friend?
Yeah. Because
David says at the end of his little speech, he says, relax, we're friends, we're practically family.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's when the dad,
he speeds off, but he does not touch him.
No.
And
David starts pounding his chest like he's a gorilla.
He beats himself up.
Pretty much. He beats up his chest or his torso.
So it can look like he was attacked.
Yeah, because the next scene you see Nicole come up to her dad, and it's like, how could you put your hands all over David? I've seen the bruises. And he's like, well, I didn't do anything. Well, maybe I... And she's like, yeah, maybe you did.
And she's like, you may have... But I tell you what you did do. You lost my respect.
Yeah.
And so it's like David's manipulated the situation to make himself look like the victim once again. And he takes Nicole out, and they have this kind of little love escapade or whatever. And he drops her off later on at home while the parents have fallen asleep waiting up for her.
Yeah.
And he says, hey, do you want to come over and hang out like longer? You want to spend the night with me? And she says, no, my dad will kill me. I can't. I should get home.
Yeah.
And so he leaves. And then she goes inside, and then midway inside she's like, you know what, I will go to his house and I will hang out. So she takes her car, or the family car or whatever, and goes to David's house without his knowledge, because cell phones don't exist yet, which is cool. And she walks up to find her in this kind of like, the door's open, there's a house party going on.
Yeah, you hear the music. There's all these cars parked out front.
You can see his best friend, Margot's kind of boyfriend-ish character.
Yeah.
They're like...
grinding.
Yeah. She's like giving him a lap dance. And,
yeah, pretty much.
And David comes, keep in mind...
Nicole's seeing this from like the backyard, like the shadows of the backyard.
Yes.
And through the back door, basically.
She was going to come in to find David, and she's like kind of put off by this weird kind of raunchy scene that's going on.
Yeah.
And David comes out of nowhere and grabs Margot by the neck and says, tell him you want me.
Yeah.
And she's like, just kind of trying to play it off like he's joking, right? And she won't say it. She doesn't want to say it because she likes the Logan character, and he's like, tell him you want me, like all scary, like,
yeah.
He forces her.
He grabs the back of her hair, and starts like yanking her.
He basically forces her to say it. She says, I want him. And
that's when Logan's like, all right, fuck you.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't want this bitch.
Yeah, just take her.
It's like, wow. Fucking, okay.
Especially because that guy was pretty big. It's like, why? I don't know.
Yeah, I guess because they know how David is. How he's like insane.
They've already accepted.
Yeah, they're like, if David wants your girlfriend, just give him to her. That's And then he basically just picks her up, puts her over his shoulder, and smacks her ass and grabs it in front of him.
She has his thong on, and Nicole's still watching this.
Yeah, the whole thing.
You know, and
and he smiled at his buddy Logan, and then Logan's like, whatever.
Yeah, like fuck it.
Yeah, and then Nicole takes off.
Without anybody, so nobody knows that she saw this scenario for herself. So she goes home, she writes her dad a letter on the door. Hey, don't worry, it's over. You know, me and David are over. I'm sorry for everything.
Yeah.
Basically, like, you know, I was wrong. And so she tries to get back to her normal life. She's obviously nobody knows what she knows, so she goes to school, and Gary sits down. And they're in the cafeteria, right? And David comes up behind her and covers her
eyes. He's like, guess who?
Yeah, and she's like, get away from me!
And him not knowing that she knows saw everything. Yeah,
she freaks out on him, and he's like, relax, what's going on? What's wrong?
Yeah.
He thinks everything is cool, and you know, obviously him and Gary already had that first thing where he beat up Gary. Yeah, he beat up Gary once. Gary still stands up for Nicole, and he says, "You know what? Like, I don't know what's going on, but you hurt her. Just leave her alone." Yeah. And then you can see David's like, I don't know if his weird mind, he thinks that it's because they have something going on. Yeah. But he gets immediately jealous and he says, all right, okay, like, oh, I'm going to catch you outside, motherfucker.
Yeah.
Type basically. Of thing. Like that evil Mark Wahlberg look.
Yeah.
And so David basically waits outside. Waits for school to get out. And he sees... Nicole goes to the mall
with her family.
Yeah, with
her
stepmom
and
Gary's left alone. They hug, and Gary's left alone.
They actually invite Gary to go.
Yeah, and he's like,
nah, it's okay. I'll walk.
I'll take my chances.
Fucking dumbass.
He also has, in the beginning of the movie, he has a really cool Alfred Hitchcock shirt on. He seems like a cool guy. Yeah. But anyway, he walks through this kind of weird, he takes a
wooded area.
He goes on this shortcut. And I don't know if you picked up on this, but there's like a couple nods to classic horror films once that the horror element of this movie kicks in. And this is one of the first ones that I've noticed so far, is they do the headshot from Halloween when he's walking along, Gary's walking along, right, and he turns the corner, and then you see out of focus David's character come into frame, and it's he's out of focus.
Yeah,
David's out of focus, and I feel like that's a nod to Halloween because they do that a lot, where you just see kind of the camera peeking over the shoulder.
Yeah,
and
you see the kind of the blurry.
Mm-hmm. So I thought that was cool. I noticed that.
There's a lot of nods in this.
Yes. And so David kind of follows him into this wooded area.
He's like, hey, Gary.
Very isolated. And he kind of tells them this story about how he was kicked out because he was a bad kid in the foster homes.
Yeah.
And he's like, you know, silly people, they're so easy to get in my way when I want something. And when I want something, I'll just knock them down. Like, it doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
And he's just like, silly people, they're so willing to be knocked down. And he throws Gary to the ground, letting him know, like, hey, I'm here for you.
Yeah.
And Gary gets scared and runs off, and there's like a small chase through the woods.
I really like it's a pretty creepy thing, but Mark Wahlberg, when Gary starts running, Mark Wahlberg was like, Gary, where you going? And it's just like, so like innocently just says it, like, oh, what's going on, man? What's happening? And he just fucking chases him.
He has like multiple personalities.
Yeah, pretty much.
And there's this really cool staged scene where Gary kind of trips over this tree trunk, and he does a flip in midair.
Yeah.
And he's kind of dazed, and David follows him and snaps his neck on the ground.
Yeah.
Like, pretty wild.
Yeah, it was super fast too.
And then they cut to them at the mall, and he kind of corners Nicole
in the bathroom.
David, corners Nicole in the women's bathroom in a stall, and he says, "You know what?" Because he's already figured out that she knows what he did with Margot, and he corners her and he says, "You know, it's not what you see me do. It's not what's in my face or whatever. It's here." And he grabs her by the crotch, which is insane that he just like thinks that way.
Yeah.
He's like, this is what matters. This is what we have, and nobody else has. And you know, of course, she feels violated.
Yeah, she's freaking out.
And he's like, "I love you. I'll see you soon."
I'll see you soon. And he takes off. And then what happened after that?
They cut back to the home. Everybody's home, and Margot comes. And she lets them know. She says Gary's dead, but I don't know if this is an error in the writing. She says they found him dead in the woods, beaten to death. Yeah. And it's like, well, unless he beat
him after he broke his neck.
Yeah, his body.
Yeah.
That's not what happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I always want to know.
I noticed that too. Yeah.
Yeah, what happened with that? But this is when. And he also, in the midst of this, he destroys the car of Mr. Walker, the dad's car, taunting him
while he's at a meeting
at work in the parking structure. Which is insane. It's a red like
Mustang.
Was it 67, 57? That style, the classic red, cherry red, Mustang. And so you see the dad notice that his car's busted up,
like it's totally ruined.
And he walks over, and there's a note, and it says, "Now I've popped both of your cherries."
Yeah.
Zing.
Dang. Smooth.
So he's like, he tells his coworker, "Hey, I need your car," and he finds out from Margot where David lives, and he goes to their like kind of shitty little house that they've wrecked, and
it's a trap house.
Exactly. He not only wrecks David's room, and there's some creepy paraphernalia in there. Like there's a picture of David, like the family, and David has cropped his face over the dad's face.
So weird.
There's a box with Nicole's underwear and a bracelet that the dad had given her. That says Daddy's girl, and he had engraved it to David's girl. Like things that there's a big picture of a woman on a poster, and he crops Reese's face onto the girl.
That was so creepy.
From the 50s or something. Like,
oh my god. Yeah, that's insane.
And then, he has like the snapshots of them as a couple, and his mugshot next to his bed.
Yeah.
Lots of weird stuff in it.
Good reminder. That's where you came from.
Remember who you are.
Yeah. But we totally skipped the part where he gives himself a tattoo.
Oh yeah. Well, we can talk about that anytime. Yeah. But yeah, he once he becomes obsessed, which is a key scene. He does this stick and poke tattoo on his chest with a dart and some pen ink.
Pen ink, yeah.
And he scratches Nicole forever. He's from Boston.
Forever. Oh my god, when I saw that I was like, wow.
The stick and poke.
Yeah.
That is iconic. Yeah. Let me tell you, man.
Forever. EVA. Ever.
Yeah.
Forever.
That's why I called this episode Nicole Forever.
Yeah.
Because that's so good, dude.
No, that's insane.
He can't top that.
No, he can't.
But where were we? So the dad breaks into their house.
And he sees all of David's crazy stuff. Shit.
And so when he sees the crazy stuff, he fucking flips and he turns the whole house over.
Yeah, everybody's stuff.
Not just David's.
Everyone's.
Yeah, so he destroys Logan and the other couple side characters. Like the whole house is just tore up. So then, obviously, then that's when this movie creeps into the home invasion genre. So it kind of blends all these different genres, which is why I like it. And he goes home, and Margot comes over, so everybody's kind of together, and they're the friends, David's friends are like, who the fuck is